and welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How are y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm, of course, your host, Mark Krishnez. And the reason for my less than enthusiastic intro this here week is because I just saw a news article about Xbox closing more studios. Some of them completely. I think Tango Gameworks is completely gone, but they've closed, shuttered, whatnot. Arcane Austin, which is the studio behind Redfall, then Tango Gameworks, which is the studio behind Ghostwire Tokyo, and most recently Hi-Fi Rush, a game that was loved by pretty much everyone last year. It was the highlight of 2023 for Xbox. I'm pretty sure. I can't think of anything else that really hit like that. And then also Alpha Dog and Roundhouse Games, which are two studios I'm unfamiliar with. I'm skimming through this article to see if it attributes any games to them. Alpha Dog on the behind Mighty Doom. Don't know what that game is. And Roundhouse Games was closing down the team. They will be joining, so Roundhouse Games will be closing down and joining ZeniMax Online Studios. So I guess they'll be focused on the Elder Scrolls Online. It's just, this is all fresh. Before I continue with this, I'll just say, so you know right now, the games I'll be talking about in a bit are aplenty and include Shadows of Doubt, Ready Steady Ship, Sclash, Blasphemous 2, ITORAH, Awesome P3, and The Prisoner of Night. But back to this news. There's not much to say. It's very, very fresh. I have just seen this not more than a few minutes ago before starting this recording a day early for a change instead of on the day. This is Tuesday, May 7th. And just, I feel like this has got to be the way a lot of people feel, but it's really hard to feel any kind of enthusiasm for the games industry right now. There are lots of great games. Many came out last year. We've already gotten plenty this year, and there are more to come. And next year is looking crazy with the Switch 2 probably coming out next year, as well as maybe there are rumors about it getting pushed, but GTA 6 which would be humongous. But despite all that, just the sheer amount of layoffs across the board, not just Xbox, but just everywhere. Because what was it? We had a few days ago, Take-Two. They closed the Kerbal Space Program team and the team behind the Ali games and Roller Drome. And it seems like now, before we were just getting, we are closing a certain percentage of, or we're making a certain number of layoffs depending on a percentage of our total workforce, and everyone's doing that. And these last two ones, it's less that and more. You know how we have these smaller teams that can work on smaller games that aren't the Call of Duties or the Halos, which is Halo's not. Who gives a shit about Halo anymore? No one, until it comes to PlayStation, then people care. But making the Last of Us, the Spider-Mans, all that jazz. If you're not one of those studios, get fucked. If you're part of a major publisher, it's really showing that, or it's illustrating that if you're indie, stay indie. If you see a big company coming at you with some money, tell them to fuck off, because they've got money in one hand and then their other hand is behind their back with a fucking gun or a knife or whatever. They're ready to fucking shoot you in the head, stab you in the heart, stab you in the back, really, not in the heart. They're too fucking chicken shit to stab you looking at you straight on. It really, when I have my own emotional things that make gaming sometimes difficult to just get in the mood for that, or in the mood for really anything, and then I think about all this stuff, it does make playing games hard to enjoy. And I know for some people, they'll say, it's easy for me to disconnect from that or disassociate all of that, but I struggle with that because it fucking sucks. All the people who are making these games that we love are the ones who are getting shit on. It's not the higher ups who don't have any fucking thing to do with it. And I'm sure this is, I look at all this and I don't want to put blame on the Xbox team, because I'm pretty sure this is probably all Microsoft. You had that fucking Sasha and Adele, whatever, a week or two, whatever ago, talking about, oh my God, we've got more fucking top 25 games on the PlayStation Store than Sony does. We're the #1 publisher. So we want games that make that. Wasn't Hi-Fi Rush one of those? I just fucking, well, okay, whatever. And I think in the news articles, like, don't worry, Hi-Fi Rush is still going to be available everywhere it is. But what about Hi-Fi Rush 2? I don't know. It's also, the Tango one is especially annoying because, one, Hi-Fi Rush was so critically acclaimed, and people really enjoyed the Evil Within games, I'm pretty sure, especially the last one. So Ghostwire Tokyo was kind of in the middle of the pack. But what was nice about that studio was you had this recent hit with Hi-Fi Rush. But it was, I'm pretty sure, the only Japanese studio under Xbox's label, under their brand, under their whatever, their umbrella. Maybe there's some other small one that they got in part of a mass acquisition that I'm forgetting, but that was the big one. And to me, if I was a Japanese person, I'd be like, look at them. They managed to get one of us, one of our studios, and look what they fucking did. They made a great game, and then they're like, yeah, fuck you guys. And I do wonder too, specifically with Tango, is this something they were planning ever since Shinji Mikami, the pronunciation notwithstanding? I'm wondering if it was just something that was inevitable the second he left. They're like, well, really, without him, who fucking cares? Who cares? If Todd Howard left Bethesda, we'd fucking close Bethesda Games Works. Would they? I don't know. Maybe they would. It just, I look at this too, and I think, you know how people were excited maybe a few days ago about Vicarious Visions or some team maybe coming back and actually making Tony Hawk 3+4? Why? Why would they do that? Just do what Activision was doing and put everyone on Call of Duty. Take 343. Fuck Halo. Nobody gives a shit about. Okay, we know nobody gives a shit about Halo. Maybe they will when you put it on PlayStation, like I said. But until then, just put them on fucking Call of Duty. You have Call of Duty now in your ecosystem. Just make Halo of Duty. Just put them together. That's how Halo is going to become relevant again, when it's part of Call of Duty. Or do Call of Duty, Halo Wars, Halo Ops, Halo War Ops, WAPs. No, don't do Halo Ops. Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm Sicilian. It's okay. It also, shit. But it's just, it's fucking frustrating. And there's nothing that we can do. What are we going to do? Stop buying the games? No, because you think like, oh, how can I show all these big companies, all the publishers, that I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, whatever the fuck that line is from Network. You can't not buy the games, because then it's just going to hurt the developers even more. It's just, it's I'm sick of it. It's just, I can't take it anymore. This year fucking sucks. Last year sucked, and I think a lot of us thought, well, it can't get worse than that. This year is so much worse, and we're not even halfway through. Who's next? There have been all of these things and shits about fucking Xbox over the last whatever number of months and so on and so forth, and you can even extend it further. This is the most, I wouldn't call myself an Xbox fanboy. That's my primary platform, and I like a lot of things about it. This is the most it just feels like, okay, you had your layoffs earlier, and I accept that because everyone's doing that. And now there are these why? Why didn't you just do this then? Is it because you didn't want to fucking close down specifically Tango prior to putting Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation? I just like, why do you wait? Why do you wait? Why did you wait to give yourself 2 negative news stories? It's so stupid. I hate it. Fuck you, Xbox. Fuck you, games industry. Y'all fucking suck. Jesus. Anyway, let's fucking talk about what I've been playing, I guess. Starting with, cool cut. Shadows of Doubt. Shadows of Doubt. What the fuck? Okay, they're this order. Shadows of Doubt, an immersive sandbox detective stealth game set in a fully simulated sci-fi noir city of crime and corruption. Think like a private investigator and take on jobs to earn cash on your path to catching a serial killer. If you don't catch them, they will kill again. This is currently only on PC, maybe only on Steam. Still in early access, but I believe it will be leaving early access later this year, and I'm pretty sure a console version was announced somewhat recently at some indie showcase. And I've been wanting to play it for a very long time, and had a code for a very long time, and I finally got around to it. I played it for about an hour, and I stopped because in its current state, it has partial controller support, and it is a bit clunky. So I am I'm holding out for that console version where I'm sure the UI and everything will be much more streamlined and it'll feel much better, and there won't be weird things like in the menu when you are creating your character. You can't input your name. At least it wouldn't let me input my name because I couldn't access the input box, the text box. And when the controller was connected, it would not allow me to use my mouse and keyboard even to navigate the menu at select times. So it is a bit finicky, and that's why it's partial controller support and not full controller support. But what little I've played, and this is something I'm sure if you're already aware of the game, you've heard plenty of times, but it feels like it might be the best playground ever in a game. Not in terms of destructibility or stuff like that. So not on a level of teardown or Red Faction Guerrilla, but in the sense of throwing you in this world and allowing you to tackle it however you want in a very, very organic way. Because when you jump into the sandbox mode, instead of having this guided mission to try and that's more so there to teach you all of the systems, because there are so many systems and so many things in this game that I learned just in the very beginning. But when you jump into a sandbox mode, you create your own seed, or you can make a pre-created seed. But then you adjust a few settings, the population and a few things like that, and you just get thrown into the world and you go. You're on this job to figure out this killer. And at the start of it, you don't know anyone in town. They're all unnamed civilians. You can go up and interact with them, talk with them. You can ask them their name, and depending on their demeanor, they might be willing to be friendly and tell you right away, or they might be standoffish. You might have to pay them a little something to get them to tell you your name, or do this or do that. As you're learning more about people and you get some pictures of people, you can ask other people in town if they know this person, what do they know about them, get information that way. You can sneak in there. Like, it's a game that I'm sure, because I've only played a very little, but I'm sure there will be limitations you run into. But based on my very little play, it seems like a game that's just so open and reminds me sort of what I loved about the Deus Ex games, but on a much more smaller, condensed state, but with so many more choices and ways of going about tackling, because it's much more focused, as opposed to being a grander story in a Deus Ex game like that, where you're playing in these various areas. It's this small area. It seems like a game that Warren Spector probably would absolutely love, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who talked about it in the past, where he'd much rather, instead of having this giant open world, give you a few square blocks that are dense, where you can go everywhere and you can do anything, and it feels like that game. And I cannot wait until when that console game comes out. I'm going to be all over it, and I'm so excited for it. Despite the shitty news going on in the industry this year and right now, it's nice to feel excited, though I played that prior to the news, so, but my excitement is still here. It's just it's a very, very me game. And part of why I waited so long, but I wanted to finally give it at least some time, is because I wanted to wait until it hit 1.0, until officially released. And then when I saw the console port, which I figured was going to happen at some point, but when that was officially announced, got even more excited. So I think it's a very, very cool game. If you want to check it out in early access, or your PC player and your primary use mouse and keyboard, I'd say it's worth checking out. But if you're a gamepad user, if you prefer controller, I would say it's still rough. And if you're a console player, just wait for that version. You don't need to play it on PC. So, very, very cool game. Very excited about it later in the year. Yeah. Very, very cool. And it has a nice look to it. That voxel aesthetic. Much smaller voxels. So it looks highly detailed. Very similar to Teardown. I really like the voxel aesthetic. I think it looks really good, because there's something very appealing. I've talked about this in the past with other things like Octopath Traveler and those games. Something about that retro-inspired art style, that pixel look, that voxel look, partnered with modern lighting and other techniques, that contrast, that juxtaposition, it looks very, very nice. I love that contrast. So it looks very, very good. There were some parts where it also seemed like it was having some performance issues. I didn't change any of the settings, so it's just the default when I launched it. I don't remember there being any issues in play, but during cinematic things or some of the opening bits, it seemed a bit choppy. So that may be early access related as well. But when I was playing it, I don't remember having any issues actually in game. But that is Shadows of Doubt. Big fan of it. Big fan. Next, we have Ready, Steady, Ship. Grab a buddy for this chaotic couch co-op delight. Use various tools and equipment to assemble the most efficient conveyor belts to keep the goods flowing. Best played in 2-player couch co-op. Is this a 2-player only? I guess, maybe. But this is one of them Overcooked likes, Moving Out, so on and so forth, where you're under a time limit and you have to manage, whether it be a cooking area, what do you call it? A kitchen? A cooking area. A kitchen, or moving furniture, or a restaurant, or whatever. You got to manage all this stuff and deal with it under time constraints and other restraints. But this one is around working in a warehouse, essentially having to manipulate conveyor belts so that they go in the direction you want, fixing parts eventually as things start to break, as that mechanic is thrown in there, and in some cases having to load certain boxes first. And it's pretty all right. It is manageable single player, but I don't think it is the best single player game like this. There was one I played recently which I really liked single player. What was it? I remember driving around the overworld. But what I think makes this game more of a cooperative experience is not the difficulty, but the tedium of it. Because when playing it solo, it is not hard to get all the stars in each level, but it is hard pretty quickly to do it within the fastest time limit. So you're not going to end up in the green, rarely, because what you have to do in many cases is take things from one corner of the screen to the opposite corner of the screen. And while if you were working with another person, you could have one person doing that, or you could team up to do that, or have somebody doing something else. You just have to do all these things that are all positioned far away from each other, that it becomes less a game about working under these constrictions and working. It doesn't feel hectic in the way a lot of these games feel. It just feels tedious. It's just like, I don't really have to work hard. I'm just gonna be here all day. It's that kind of thing where think about working a real job. I got to get this shit done by 5 o'clock. That's not how it feels. It just feels like, well, I got to get this shit done, and I'm by myself, so I'm gonna be here till 8. It just is what it is. That's how it feels. And you think that maybe that might be relaxing, but it's not. It's just sort of, why am I doing this? So, mechanically, it's fine. It has the same issue that a lot of games have, where if you have things that are really close to each other, it can be easy to accidentally pick up the wrong thing multiple times, and trying to get in a position to pick up what or interact with what you want to interact with can be annoying at times. But it was fine. It's not. I do think that, especially if it is just co-op with one other player, that if you're looking for something that's on the lighter side, of something that you could play with someone else, and it's not going to be hectic and anxiety inducing, because maybe the person you're playing with, they'll struggle if they feel like they're under too much pressure, then it would be good for that. But outside of that, if you're a solo player, I don't think there are better options. And if you're looking for a crazy, fun, hectic time, there are better options. But it's okay. That is ready, steady shit, though. Next, we have Sclash. Sclash is a plug-and-play 2D samurai fighting game full of tension where one hit is enough to kill. Play as hand-drawn samurai in beautiful painted settings and fight your opponent in epic, solemn duels where each move matters. Manage well your stamina, breath, and take your time to land a deadly hit. This kind of reminds me of a more serious Bushido Blade S. That's the one-hit game from back in the day, right? Version of a what's the name of that game? There were two of them. Nidhogg. Take out the comedy and put in more of a serious samurai vibe, and it kind of fits that whatever. I want to stop saying whatever. Ever. But I played through the story mode campaign. I'm not sure how they frame it. But I played through that because I don't have anyone to play locally with. And when I tried to find someone to play online in the evening on a weekend, nobody. I'm playing on Xbox. So maybe there's a community on PC. If there is, no crossplay or anything like that, which is just... I know that's not easy. That's not just a switch you flip, but if you are a game with a serious online component, I think you should always do whatever you can to try and make that work. Just figure it out. I think that's so crucial, especially if you're a smaller title where you can't rely on individual platform communities. Because I waited for over 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure, and there's just nothing at all. And then, so I played through the story mode, and that, I'm pretty sure, took less than an hour to complete. Wasn't super challenging. Wasn't that fun. It was just hold the analog stick to the right so that you scroll and you move to the right until you hit some scenario fighting someone, and maybe some grunts sometimes that you get 2 from each side, and then you keep moving to the right and keep moving to the right and keep moving to the right. Then you fight, move to the right, fight, move to the right. Nothing more than that. So it got very dull very quickly, even though it was such a short campaign. It wore out its welcome before it finished, which is telling for the fact that it was probably an hour or less to complete. So while mechanically it was fine, you have a regular attack that you can hold to do. I think once they introduce some mechanic, you can hold to do this more stronger attack that will really take down someone's defense. But there's also a parry and I think maybe a dodge kind of roll. And it does feel good. It especially, because when you're playing through the story mode, one hit kills you, but you'll fight opponents outside of the main grunts who take multiple hits to fully defeat. And when you get a quick hit on someone, that's fine, but the most satisfying, the most fun I had is when there would be this back and forth of us parrying each other, and it would be, it's the same as playing a tennis game and getting that ace. That's somewhat satisfying, I guess, because you didn't even have to do the volley. You got him with not one hit, you got him with your serve. And that's satisfying. You feel fucking awesome and super powerful, right? But it's those long volleys that go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth that you finally, after so much time, end up coming out victorious, that are the most satisfying. And it's true in here when you're going back and forth pairing each other and you feel like you put so much time and effort into this one hit that you want to land on your opponent, that when you do it, it feels so good. And then on the other end, if you get hit, fucking, it hurts more than other times, because it's just, it took so much time, and it's just, those feel good. Whether you win them or lose them, those are fun. But outside of those rare instances, because AI is I'm pretty sure that if there was someone online that I could have played with, or if there were local people to play, I think it would be a good multiplayer game. But on Xbox specifically, if you're relying on an online community, I can't recommend it. Because the solo, the single player is not satisfying, and it's so short, and I don't see much reason to replay it. And then I'm pretty sure I tried, and I don't think there's even a way to play against the AI locally in just a one-on-one match. But I should probably double check, because I feel like that should at least be there. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't there. Yeah, I think if you know for sure you'll be able to play with other real life people, maybe worth checking out. But if that's not the case for you, I would say skip it, sadly. As fun as it can be in those specific moments. That is against Sclash. And then next we have Blasphemous 2. The Penitent, not Pentiment. This isn't a game from Xbox by a studio they're going to close. Not really, because that was just a small team from Obsidian, right? I think that's who made that one. Imagine that. They close Obsidian. It's like, oh, the only studio making games for you? Consistently, and what? The Penitent One, Blasphemous 2. The Penitent One awakens as Blasphemous 2 joins him once again in an endless struggle against the miracle. Dive into a perilous new world filled with mysteries and secrets to discover, and tear your way through monstrous foes that stand between you and your quest to end the cycle once and for all. This is a Metroidvania game, which, because I played the original, I don't remember if the original was this blatantly Metroidvania-ish. I felt like the original was more just, I felt like it was more of a linear platformer with a focus on one-on-one combat, but I could be thinking of something else. There's so many games of this ilk, but I played a few hours of this, wasn't really paying attention to stories. I think the story is probably interesting and well written, but I just wanted to mess around with the game, and I knew that I wasn't going to play the whole thing now, so I'd wait on that. But what I played, I really, really enjoyed. I don't feel like, from what I played though, I can't say of any standout thing. I don't think the combat is currently super in depth, but it feels good. It feels satisfying. The parry feels really, really good, which is something that I'm not usually a fan of. And I think what makes it satisfying is that the general parry window, and this is a 2D side-scrolling pixel art, looks good. You might know the game because your dude has a fucking giant horn helmet fucking thing that looks stupid as shit, but whatever. You do you, guy in game. The enemy design is great. The art is great. Plays so well, super responsive. But what I love about the parry system is that your general window is pretty forgiving. So it's once you know an enemy and their attack pattern and when to parry them, it's pretty easy to parry them. But you do get a bonus for parrying at the last minute. So there is an incentive to get a perfect parry. But if you don't want to do that, or if that's too difficult for you, you can just generally parry them relatively easy compared to some other games I've played with a parry system. And I like that because I find that parrying systems can be very frustrating quite often. But the way it works here, pretty forgiving. The combat everything about the game, the way it feels, the animations, it's just very, very satisfying and visceral. And I like the world, the typical Metroidvania nature of going through areas, finding shortcuts, and all of that. And kind of because of the look and the vibe of it, it sort of feels like a Dark Souls, not just in terms of the vibe and the feel, but in a 2D pixel art side-scrolling Metroidvania structure. Did a few bosses; those are fun. I don't know if there are any difficulty settings or accessibility options. I don't think there were accessibility options, because I remember there were a few games that I looked into that, and the ones that I looked into that, I remember both of them being pretty shitty. And Blasphemous 2 might have been one of them where it was you can turn off screen shaking and something else, but that was it. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess those are accessibility options, but you can't even adjust the text or subtitles or any of that stuff. But I really like it, and I look forward to really diving deep into it, starting over, and doing the whole thing for probably Attack the Backlog at some point in the future. But if you're a fan of Metroidvanias, I would highly recommend giving Blasphemous 2 a look, because it's quite good. It's quite good. Then we have, to follow in that Metroidvania vibe, ITORAH. Discover the world of Nahukan in this 2D action platformer. You are ITORAH, the only human in this strange place. Explore, fight, and survive to uncover your past and save Nahukan from its biggest threat, a mysterious plague. I wonder how this game would have fared with me had I not played Blasphemous 2 before it. I don't think too differently, because it makes a pretty good first impression by having some very, very, very lovely art. The environmental art is beautiful. It looks so good. But then the character models and the enemy models and designs are very mixed. I think you look okay, and some of the friendly NPCs can look okay. This furry humanoid creature you run into early on, don't really like them, but there are some people at the town you go to, then I'm like, yeah, I like the way you look. Dude fishing who won't talk to me, because there are other people who will talk to me and just tell me to do nothing. They won't really say anything except for one sentence. You won't even talk to me, but you're fishing and you look cool. I want to talk to you, dude. Talk to me. Come on, talk to me. Do I need to get a fucking paper mache hand and grab it? Is that how you'll talk to me? Jesus, I don't want to. But the opening area has you in these caves full of spiders, and there are little tiny spiders, and then kind of mid-sized ones that'll dangle down, and then there's a big boss one that you fight. That one's okay. The boss fights actually were some of the highlights of what I played. They weren't super challenging, but they were fun. Not difficult, but fun. And it opens with you getting caught up by a spider, because you're just following this area, learning some of the mechanics, and then spiders are chasing you, and they're coming from one side, and then you get to an area, and they're coming from the other side too, and they surround you. And in that moment, when you see them all bunched together, it's just the same model, copy and pasted on both sides. That looks really, really bad. And just the model of that particular spider model in general too does not look good. So anytime I see that one in the game, I fucking hate it. There's a dodge mechanic that feels pretty good and makes fighting any enemy pretty easy to dodge their attacks. But when you get caught up by the spiders, that's when you're introduced to this talking staff that is your weapon. And he's like, hey, fucking wake up. And then you wake up. And then you start scrumming around and you're going to try to break out of your webbing. And it's like, don't do that. You'll fucking fall. It's like, well, fucking, of course I'm going to fall. I'm hanging up here, but I want to get out. Shut up, you stupid idiot. And then they're like, help me. And you fucking are pulling on them. And it's like, oh, that didn't work. So I'll pull on some more. Oh, try one more time. You pull on, oh, you're a fucking staff. And just whatever. But the problem with the game for me, outside of not jiving with all the character and enemy designs, is that it just doesn't feel that good. There's a stiffness to everything. Your general movement, your platforming, your attacks. There's a lack of fluidity that makes playing it feel not great. It's not terrible. It's not unplayable at all. But in games like this, feel is very important. Not to say it's not important in other games, but in these games, especially like 2D platformers, feel, that's the bread and butter. That's the key. And it's just not there. It's okay. It's okay to the point where if the story grabbed me or something else grabbed me or whatever, slap me. I could deal with it, but since that's not the case, it becomes a pass. So, beautiful environmental art, mixed character and enemy art and design, and then stiff feeling. So if you wanna feel a stiffy, check out ITORAH. But then got 2 more. Awesome P 3. Awesome P is a fast precision platformer where you must run and jump through a series of challenging stages. I found this game to be fucking annoying. I think the level designs are just meant to annoy the shit out of you. I don't think it feels that good mechanically. That's another thing about ITORAH. You have like this ability to slide down hills. And that's the thing where it becomes very apparent how the inputs, and it just does not feel right because that's inconsistent. But Awesome P, don't like the way it feels either. Looks fine, whatever. But you have this ability to stick to walls and walk up them, kind of, and it just, then jumping off them, it feels not good. Just, it's one of those games that is cheap, that you look at it and think, oh, this is one of those achievement games. It'll be real simple and relaxing. It's fine. It'll be fine, whatever. But this is not that. It's just fucking, it pissed me off right away. And I would beat a level and I wouldn't feel a sense of satisfaction. I'd feel a sense of wanting to tell the game to fuck you. Look, I beat your stupid fucking dumb like, this is not, I don't like this. But I'm going to keep going because fuck you, game. That's what Awesome P3 is. Not so awesome. And then The Prisoner of Night. I just feel bad. Prisoner of Night is a single-player platforming game with a wide range of scenarios where the lovely girl, Nartide, must survive terrible monsters and deadly traps in the darkest, scariest night of her life. It is fucking weird. It is creepy and scary and off-putting. This is one of the ugliest games I've played in a long time. It looks like an early-gen PS1 platformer, side-scrolling platformer with 3D art. It's just, you look terrible. And it's got that limbo type of thing where if you die on spikes, you see your character dangling there with all its weird physics and blood, and it's just... It was a game I played for a very little amount of time, and the whole time it was very, very, very unpleasant. If you want to... It's a game that you can just look at a video. All right? I don't like being mean like this, but just look at a video of The Prisoner of the Night, and then that's enough. You'll see what I mean, or you'll think I'm just being mean to be. I can't. Art's important to me, but also like, it doesn't feel good. It's not like it has some other, like every other part of it is there's a redeeming quality. It's just, it's a subpar experience across the board. It's just that it's so fucking ugly that stands out more than anything else. But then it's weird. It doesn't seem super challenging. These small... One of the first things you do, like a tutorial that's teaching you some of the things, is you just walk to the right, and then I think your dad picks you up, and it's one of the creepiest things I've seen in quite a while. No. That is again The Prisoner of the Night. Anywho, that's it. So that will do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am, of course, Mark Krishna, your host. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you get access to at the highest tier, that is, if you back there, which is only $5 a month, you get a monthly Q&A, you get random drops on the Patreon, you get access to a private Discord channel, as well as a fancy smancy Discord role, YouTube approved status, whatever the hell that means. I think it just means you can freely comment without having to worry about any kind of moderation. Is that worth $5 alone? Maybe for some of you. And other bonuses here and there. I'm gonna have things where I might create a poll and ask patrons what of a select number of games they'd like to see me play next for Attack the Backlog or second runs. So you might have a say in there. I'm not gonna give free reign for you to pick anything and then make me play it like I have done in the past, but I might at least give you a choice amongst a handful of games I know I want to play in the immediate future. But other things as well. I'm thinking that I've been talking about how I'm going to deal transitioning between Attack the Backlog games and second run games, and I think I'm going to take the week in between them off instead of doing a random whatever episode in between. And I think I might do with that, if I do the poll thing as an in-between those weeks, and something of that nature. We're still workshopping certain things, figuring out how we're going to do things, and then also bringing back stuff like An Amazing Limbaka and other stuff of that nature. But if any of that stuff interests you, if you just want to support me and the stuff I do, again, that is patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye.
It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy.